The US Supreme Court has formally reinstated a redrawn Texas electoral map expected to boost Republican representation in the US House of Representatives, as President Donald Trump's party seeks to maintain control of Congress in the 2026 midterm elections. The ruling, issued on Monday, split along ideological lines, with the court's 6 conservative justices in the majority and the 3 liberal justices dissenting. Bahrain has stripped dozens of people of their citizenship for allegedly supporting Iranian attacks on the country. Bahrain's Ministry of Interior announced on Monday that it had revoked the citizenship of 69 people, some of whom were related, after accusing them of sympathizing with Iran and colluding with foreign entities. The move comes after Tehran carried out strikes on facilities in Bahrain as part of the war launched against Iran by Israel and the United States. Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla have arrived in the United States for a 4-day trip. A tour that has taken on even greater prominence after the White House Correspondents' Association dinner shooting and amid acrimony between the close allies. The state visit on Monday afternoon, by far the most high-profile and consequential of Charles's reign, marks the 250th anniversary of the US Declaration of Independence from British rule and is the first visit to the country by a British monarch for 2 decades. Letterboxd has surged in popularity in recent years. Once a niche site for only the most fervent of film nerds, the site, which allows users to rate, review, and recommend movies to one another, has continued to add accounts by the tens of millions, thanks largely to interest from millennials and Gen Z. Now, the company's controlling investor has apparently made it known that they are looking to cash out. Semaphore reported Sunday that Canadian holding company Tiny, which owns some 60% of Letterboxd, has been courting various potential buyers, including Versant, the parent company of CNBC and MS Now, formerly MSNBC. Another potential buyer is The Ankler, a popular Hollywood newsletter, according to Semaphore. Tiny bought the platform in 2023, valuing it at over $50 million. It's unclear whether the company has neared any sort of deal.
And at least 4 people were killed and dozens injured when 2 trains collided outside the Indonesian capital Jakarta on Monday. State media report that a stationary commuter train was hit from behind by a long-distance commuter train arriving on the same track.
The Iraqi president Nizar Ahmedi has named Ali al-Zaidi as Prime Minister designate and tasked him with forming a government. Al Jazeera's correspondent in Iraq has reported al-Zaidi was named earlier on Monday as the candidate of the Coordination Framework, a coalition of Shia parties that has a majority in parliament.
Thousands of people remain detained in poor conditions by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, in El Fasher in western Sudan. According to a local NGO, the Sudan Doctors Network said on Monday that 20 doctors, more than 1,470 civilians and 907 military personnel are being held in dire conditions in multiple detention facilities in the city.
Technology tycoons Elon Musk and Sam Altman are poised to face off in a high-stakes trial revolving around the alleged betrayal, deceit and unbridled ambition that blurred the bickering billionaires' once shared vision for the development of artificial intelligence. The trial, which is scheduled to begin on Monday with jury selection, centers on the 2015 birth of ChatGPT maker OpenAI as a non-profit startup primarily funded by Musk before evolving into a capitalistic venture now valued at $852 billion.
And Israel has threatened to burn all of Lebanon after Hezbollah reiterated its defiance and rejection of peace talks as war across the border grinds on. The Lebanon-based armed group on Monday condemned Beirut's ongoing discussions with Israel and again refused to end its campaign of strikes across the border in the face of Israel's persisting attacks on the south of the country. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz retorted that defiance would bring catastrophic consequences.
US President Donald Trump said on Monday that Jimmy Kimmel should be immediately fired by ABC and parent company Walt Disney, joining his wife Melania Trump in calling out the late-night talk show host for a monologue he delivered prior to a shooting near a gathering of journalists and politicians over the weekend. Kimmel said last Thursday, in a parody segment on the upcoming White House Correspondents' Dinner, that Melania Trump had a glow like an expectant widow. In his monologue, he portrayed himself as the MC of that upcoming banquet, a glitzy yearly event called the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Melania Trump has criticized late-night host Jimmy Kimmel over a joke in which he called her an expectant widow just days before a shooting incident at the White House Correspondents' Dinner she attended with the president. The First Lady called Kimmel's remarks hateful and violent, urging his network, ABC, to take action against his atrocious behavior. Federal authorities in the United States have charged the suspect, who allegedly shot a Secret Service agent as he tried to breach security at a press gala attended by Donald Trump, with attempting to assassinate the U.S. president. Cole Thomas Allen, 31, of Torrance, California, also faces firearms charges in a 3-count complaint, prosecutors announced on Monday.
And the United Kingdom's ambassador to the United States, Christian Turner, has called the 4-day visit by King Charles III to the US an effort to renew and revitalize a unique friendship between the two allies. The visit, which began on Monday and comes at a tense period in US-UK relations as US President Donald Trump continues to publicly criticize British Prime Minister Keir Starmer over his stance on the US-Israeli war on Iran, and accusing him of not assisting Washington in the fight against Iran or helping the US reopen the strategic Strait of Hormuz.
Americans lost $2.1 billion to social media scams in 2025, according to a new report from the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, FTC. The agency reports that losses from social media scams have increased eightfold, and that social media scams resulted in higher losses than any other method scammers used to contact consumers. Nearly 30% of people who reported losing money to scams said the schemes began on social media. More people reported losing money to scams that originated on Facebook than on any other social media platform, with WhatsApp and Instagram ranking a distant second and third. Additionally, people reported losing far more money to scams on Facebook alone than they reported losing to text or email scams.
And US President Donald Trump said on Monday that Jimmy Kimmel should be immediately fired by ABC and parent company Walt Disney, and joining his wife Melania Trump in calling out the late-night talk show host for a monologue he delivered prior to a shooting near a gathering of journalists and politicians over the weekend. Kimmel said last Thursday, and in a parody segment on the upcoming White House Correspondents' Dinner, that Melania Trump had a glow like an expectant widow. In his monologue, he portrayed himself as the MC of that upcoming banquet and a glitzy yearly event called the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
President Donald Trump has joined his wife Melania Trump in calling on the ABC TV network to take action against comedian Jimmy Kimmel for jokes, targeting her as the debate over free speech, polarizing rhetoric, and political violence grows louder in the United States. Melania Trump on Monday accused the host of Jimmy Kimmel Live of deepening the political sickness within America with his comedy 2 days after gunfire erupted outside the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which Trump and her husband attended.
And gunmen have raided an orphanage and kidnapped at least 23 children, authorities in Nigeria report. The gang took the children late on Sunday from an unregistered facility called the Dahala Kitab Group of Schools, located in an isolated area in Kogi State's capital, Lokoja. Kogi Information Commissioner Kingsley Fanwo said in a statement on Monday. And Pakistan and Afghanistan have accused one another of launching new cross-border attacks. Afghanistan's Taliban authorities said on Monday that 4 people were killed in attacks in the eastern Kunar province. Pakistani officials reported at least 3 civilians were injured by gunfire in South Waziristan.
Ineffable Intelligence, a British AI lab founded a mere few months ago by former DeepMind researcher David Silver, has raised $1.1 billion in funding at a valuation of $5. $1 billion to join the race for novel AI models that could outperform large language models. According to its newly launched site, Ineffable aims to create a superlearner capable of discovering knowledge and skills without relying on human data by leveraging reinforcement learning, a technique in which AI systems learn through trial and error rather than studying human-generated examples. This is Silver's area of expertise. On Monday, Microsoft and OpenAI announced that they have once again renegotiated the deal binding the two companies. Despite some opinions on X that frame it as a victory for the ChatGPT maker over the Windows giant, both sides are walking away winners. Most important, the new terms solve an issue that was hanging over OpenAI's head since it signed its up to $50 billion deal with Amazon.
And Toyota has announced a limited price reduction for the Fortuner in Pakistan, offering both variants at discounted rates. According to the latest advertisement, the Fortuner G is priced at $12,435,000, while the Fortuner V is available for $14,935,000.
Lahore. The Punjab Assembly passed on Monday the Child Marriage Restraint Bill 2026, which sets 18 years as the minimum legal age for marriage for both boys and girls and declares underage marriage a non-bailable offence. The bill was presented in the Assembly by Punjab Parliamentary Affairs Minister Mujtaba Shuja Rahman. However, the lawmakers were not initially provided copies of the bill, which led to a heated debate.
And the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, plans to set up a paramilitary unit to secure the country's large mining sites. The General Inspectorate of Mines, IGM, which oversees the East African country's abundant deposits of critical minerals, and announced the creation of the Mining Guard on Monday. And the unit will be backed by investments from the United States and United Arab Emirates as Washington and its ally seek to lock in access to the minerals, and the DRC struggles with rebel groups for control in the country's troubled east. And gunshots shattered the White House Correspondents' Dinner, throwing Washington's biggest night into chaos. We unpack how it happened, who the suspect is, how security responded, and what US President Donald Trump said afterward. We also examine the fallout and what it reveals about a White House under pressure. So what happens next? In this episode,
Pirates are suspected of having hijacked a cargo vessel off the coast of Somalia. Officials and maritime security groups report. The reported hijacking on Monday was the second off Somalia in less than a week. The attack was on the Sword, which was carrying cement from Suez, Egypt, to the Kenyan port city of Mombasa, and was flying the flag of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Israel's far-right Naftali Bennett and centrist opposition leader Yair Lapid have announced that they will resume the alliance that last toppled Benjamin Netanyahu's government in 2021, which at the time ended the latter's 12-year hold on the country's leadership. Speaking in Herzliya on Sunday, both former prime ministers addressed the waiting press pack from identical podiums, with Bennett telling reporters, "Tonight we are uniting and establishing the Together Party under my leadership, a party that will lead to a great victory and the opening of a new era for our beloved country."
And Sky, an iPhone app still in private testing, wants to change how people interact with AI on their smartphones. And even before it's launched, it's already attracted interest online and from investors and tens of thousands of users, according to its creator. A sign that consumers might want a more AI-aware iPhone. Instead of launching an app or speaking to an AI chatbot, the startup is working to design an agentic home screen for the iPhone using iOS widgets as its interface.
A man accused of carrying out cyber attacks on behalf of the Chinese government has been extradited to the United States, according to his lawyer. Last year, the U.S. Justice Department accused Xu Zhiwei of working as a contractor for the Chinese Ministry of State Security to conduct a series of cyber attacks. Prosecutors allege Xu and co-conspirator Zhang Yu targeted several U.S. universities in early 2020 to steal research related to the COVID-19 pandemic. The two also allegedly hacked thousands of email servers running Microsoft Exchange beginning March 2021 as part of an indiscriminate campaign attributed to a Chinese-backed hacking group known as Hafnium and later Silk Typhoon.
The Information Ministry on Monday rubbished reports by the Afghan media alleging Pakistan carried out attacks targeting city and residential areas in the neighbouring country's Kunar province. In a post on X, the ministry shared a screenshot of a social media post by Afghan news outlet Tolo News, which claimed that Pakistan had carried out attacks on the Syed Jamaluddin Afghani University and residential areas.